Welcome everyone to 3 Days to Bigger Profits, and this is really going to be a series of webinars over the next 3 days that are going to focus on sourcing, pricing, and research. And I know pricing and research kind of go together. So we are going to talk about those three topics because you guys have all heard that you make your money in the buy. And really, it's true, but it's not just the buy if you don't price it right or if you miss something on the research. And you all should be seeing the slide that says the 3 Days to Bigger Profits. Just making sure you guys see that. All right. And I know there's going to be questions coming in. If you could hold those questions, I promise we are going to have a great Q&A session. If for any of those questions that I don't answer in the course of the webinar, and promise we'll get those answered. Okay, good. You can see my screen. Yay. All right, and there's quite a few of you here, so I am going to try and keep up with any comments and questions that come in along the way, and promise at the end I will definitely be going back through, making sure I didn't miss anyone as we go. So really, let's just jump in and get going. Now, I see a lot of familiar faces, which is awesome. Hello, a lot of my Appsters, members of the Danny App Academy here. So awesome to see you guys all here. But there are people here who maybe this is the first time you've ever heard me do anything, or heard my name. Maybe you've heard my name, don't quite know who the heck I am. So let me just share a little bit about me. Again, my name is Danny Ackerman. I am known as the Danny App. So a lot of people go, what is the Danny App? Well, that's kind of just a play on words. That came about because someone was on a podcast several years ago, and the question they were asked was, well, what app do you use while you're outsourcing? And their answer was, oh, I use the Danny App. And that is how that came about. And a lot of that just has to do with my history in the resale market long before eBay ever came around. I've been on eBay since 1998, almost back when it started. It was when it went public and the word got out about it. That's as soon as I found out, I joined up, and it's been one of those love-hate relationships for the last 17 years, if you do the math there. I have been an Amazon seller since 2003, and now FBA came along. And I jumped into that in about 2012, but before that, you could sell books. It's just a merchant seller on Amazon, and I did that right from the get-go. So I've had my account there a very, very, very long time. Before all the online stuff, I did direct sales. I did Avon, Electrolux, Watkins, Amway, you name it, I was in it. My Avon business was selling about $250,000 a year until they decided to figure out how to stop me from doing what I was doing, believe it or not. I got too big for Avon. They felt they couldn't control me, so they kind of changed their policy, which caused me to move on to something else. I didn't feel like playing politics. So I was selling about $250,000 a year. I was not making $250,000 a year. Believe it or not, I was really only making about $50,000 a year out of that. So it was a lot of work, and they made it too difficult. So I moved on. I've written a few books on sourcing, including storage lockers for fun and profit, buying at auctions for fun and profit, along with my friend Kat Simpson, who many of you know. We wrote The Ultimate Guide to Savings by Store. And I've got a new one in the works I think you guys are going to like. I'll be announcing that sometime in the next month or two. I've been featured on Fox Business News, Bloomberg News, of course, eBay Radio, and I speak across the country at e-commerce events. So hopefully at some point during this year or next year, I get to meet every single one of you in person somewhere. That's my favorite thing to do is, Facebook's all fine and good, but I like getting to know people in person and, instead of seeing a kitty cat icon, actually seeing some eyeballs and teeth. Seeing a real person. I like meeting real people. So that's me. So what we are going to talk about, as I said, is sourcing, research, and pricing. That is going to be our focus. I covered up my notes here. So today we're going to stick to sourcing. We're going to really cover sourcing thoroughly, and then tomorrow and Friday we're going to talk about the research and the pricing. And again, these are the main reasons you're either making money or you're not making money. And it's funny because I put a poll out on the Danny App Facebook group about which of these three things you think is perhaps costing you in your business. And there was a lot of answers that said none of them. Time management, inventory management, and I'm going to tell you no, those are secondary. Those are truly, truly secondary. If you are buying the right stuff and pricing it right, and then of course you have to get it listed, but a lot of that time comes back to maybe spending too much time on one of these areas. So we're going to talk about some ways that you can not spend as much time sourcing. And I know, okay, so come on, you guys, confession time. Who got into this business because the sourcing is fun? Raise your hands. And I'm raising mine, by the way. Sourcing's fun, aka thrifting, shopping, retail therapy. Oh gosh, yes, we love the thrill of the hunt, right? I could source all day, every day, never get tired of it. But if you are doing this to actually make money and pay some bills and maybe have some fun with some money, then we have to do more than just source. So I am down to now sourcing maybe once a week, if that. And I'm going to talk to you about how that all works and how I keep making thousands of dollars even though I'm not outsourcing all the time. So we're going to really talk about that, because if you can really fine-tune your sourcing and get some focus, you can spend much less time doing it. And so then you get more stuff listed, you have more time, and that all falls in place. Like I said, I am bringing some special guests on over the next 3 days. Now, I must tell you, today's guest it registered and did not get the link to come in to the actual webinar. So this could be interesting. So I'm still kind of working on that behind the scenes. And since I'm a one-woman show here, you may hear me take a pause to check and see if he's messaged me about his success or failure with that. But hopefully we get him in here. Yep. All right. So here's what it comes down to, you guys. How much are you paying yourself? And think about this for a minute, because not everything you put in your bank is paying yourself, right? So think about, are you working just to pay the next bill, to pay your eBay fees, your store fees, your Amazon bill? I mean, is it all about just that continuous circle of, oh my gosh, this is coming up on the 15th, I got to pay this, what am I going to do? Oh, okay, that's not good. And that's very stressful and comes with a lot of worry. I call it the cycle of worry. Where one day you get a really good sale and you pay off, some bill that was coming up, but then the next day you're right back into that same cycle because that stuff is coming up again, right? Is that ringing any bells? I got it. Believe me, I understand. So my desire and wish for all of you guys is that anybody who wants to can build a six-figure business, and not just a six-figure, like that's the sales amount business, but that can be your paycheck. That can be your profit, your revenue out of this. And I see it all the time, people having that success because they figure a couple of things out in their business. And those are some of the people I'm going to bring you over the next few days. And also, anybody's heard about More Fun, Bigger Profits conference, those people are going to be there as well. But that's what it's all about, is finding out, okay, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And I will tell you guys, I have one of those six-figure selling businesses, and it is very part-time for me. I spend most of my time working on the Danny app coaching side of my business, of networking, of building relationships, of preparing to do content and writing. I don't spend a lot of time on my selling business. But when I do, that time is spent really effectively so that that money keeps flowing in. And that's what I wish for everybody else, and why I decided to hold free webinars and just get this information out there so you guys can do the same thing. So I was really, really blessed to be given the gift of being able to take complex things, or maybe they're not complex, but they just sound overwhelming, and be able to break those down, make sense of them for the non-techies that I seem to relate to. And if you're like me and you're not a numbers person, and all the statistics and the percentages and all of that stuff just really boggles your brain, that's what I'm able to kind of bring out there and show you that you don't even need to be good at that to do this business well. Excuse me. And because not only have I done it myself, but I've helped other people do it. And so the possibilities out there, if you allow yourself to get past the I'm not good at that kind of stuff, are just amazing. Okay, so I want you to start thinking bigger and seeing the bigger realm of possibilities. You guys promise you can do that? And with that, all I'm going to ask is that you have an open mind. I'm going to be talking about some things that you may say, nope, can't do that. Nope, that's not for me. Oh yeah, that works for you because you're fill in the blank, okay? I don't want any negative self-talk. None of that. Well, I'm not smart enough to do that. I can't figure out the technology, okay? Because I hear all of that stuff all the time. And I'm going to tell you guys that I've conquered those demons. And it wasn't easy, and sometimes they still come back. But if you can let go of those negative voices and just dream a bit, okay? Just be open to the what ifs and the possibilities. Is that a deal? This is how I make sure you guys still hear me, too. Okay. Good, good, good. There's so much talent out there in all of you to do this stuff, but I know there's some hurdles to get over, and we're going to talk about those, okay? So I will be bringing on, granted we can get him on here, I'm going to be bringing on a special guest named Robert Bagley.
Can you hear me, Danny?
Oh, look, Robert's here. Okay, good.
Yep.
Robert, can you guys hear Robert? Say hello to them, Robert. Say it again.
Hello, everybody.
Yay, they can hear you. Oh, yay. Okay, Robert, I promise I'm going to get back to you in just a second.
That's fine. I just want to make sure you can hear me. I'm going to star 6 myself back out.
Awesome. I feel much better about moving forward now.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, yay. So we definitely will have Robert on to talk to you in just a short bit, because he's done something really, really scary. I mean, many people probably told him he was absolutely out of his mind, crazy, for leaving a really, really, really good job and going into the online selling business. but he has done just that. And Robert, I am still hearing you in the background.
I'll mute myself, sorry.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk to him in a minute. He's a big, big Amazon seller, and I know a lot of you are really interested in the Amazon model. And I'm going to tell you that if you're not on Amazon, you need to be looking at the Amazon business model as another, not to replace eBay, not if you've got already a business up and running and going, but to add in that stream of income because it's a biggie. I am doing I'm not doing huge numbers on Amazon. I'm doing about $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and I'm sending in about 1 or 2 shipments a month. So I maintain anywhere from 150 to 250 items at any given time over there and selling that amount. And that's just a numbers game. As I, grow that, that's going to grow. Robert, on the other hand, is doing much more than that, which we'll talk about in a minute. So first, I want to talk to you about sourcing from the perspective of where many of you come from and know me from, is the thrifting, the yard sales, the auctions, and getting all those nice one-off finds. And I just remember I really do have like more than just a blank page to show you here. So those are my 3 favorite places to source. Favorites! There's tons of stuff out there to sell, you guys. Tons of it. And lots of it will make you big profit margins, but even more of it's going to make you little profit margins. So here's like one of the first things I want to touch on is when you're out there and you're going and you're in the thrill of the hunt and you're having fun looking for this great stuff to sell, one of the keys, one of the things I use is to be very, very focused and be willing to leave stuff behind. This is one of the hardest things even I had to do. But here's what happens. We go out, we find great stuff, and when we're putting it in the cart, we get that little, you get that little adrenaline rush feeling because it's like, oh yeah, this is going to sell for $20, $30, $40, $50, and you're all excited. But what happens is we find so many of those items, we come home and it sits in a pile in the corner, it sits behind your desk, it sits on the extra bed in the guest room. Yeah, am I touching any points there? So I get it. I had an entire 2-car garage filled. Like they could have filmed, an episode of Hoarders in that garage because I literally had little mazes through the piled up bins and boxes of stuff. And I'd go through there and I'd be excited because I'd see something and I'd go, oh my gosh, I'm going to make so much money on that. And guess what? You never make a dime on it if it keeps just piling up in whatever space you have for that unlisted inventory, okay? So what I had to learn is when my husband lost his job and all of a sudden he turned to me and the eBay selling that was a fun hobby and said, can we make a living at this? I'm like, yeah. But then it became serious. We really had to make money. And so sourcing time was cut down, listing time had to increase, and we made it work. Were we living high on the hog? No, but we made it work. We supported a family of 4 in a St. Bernard on that eBay income. And that was in the days where you could sell everything, right? So those of you who know me know my message has really changed about that. And so now there's a difference between being a seller who has an online business, which is the business model that I teach. It is what I encourage all of you to do, is really be an online business versus dun, 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 an online yard sale. Because the big difference is, sure, you're going to sell stuff, you're going to make some money, but at the end of the day, what is that big picture for you? What is it really you are trying to accomplish? Are you trying to have a business income? Are you trying to pay yourself a CEO salary, or are you going to stay in that cycle of going sale to sale to and then you go through these big slumps, right, where, oh my gosh, sales are down. And I see this every single month. Every single month I see some of the panic out there. I see the, oh, sales are so slow, I don't know what to do, and you run a sale and you mark everything down and you start giving stuff away and you're running 99-cent auctions, and sure, you're going to sell some stuff and it feels like the sales are coming in and there's some money flow, but the big picture is you're not really running a business that way. Okay, the other thing is, if you are running an online yard sale, you can't ask for top prices on things. So I'm trying to get you away from going from that item to item to item, which requires that you're either just going to sell it right away because it's a really hot item, but more likely than not, you'll have items that, while they're desirable, they have to wait for the right buyer to come along, and Cassini's knocking you down in search and all that stuff. And that's really where I'm trying to get you guys out of that mode and into a really effective business model where it all runs together and smoothly so that everything you list is making you money. And you guys know my hot word for the last, about the last year has been niche, getting nichey. Let's just talk a little bit why that's important and why I've gone to that. So when you could sell anything and everything on eBay and it would sell because they all got the results in search, so Cassini came along and changed that. They really changed that. And what they did was made it very relevant to what buyers were putting into the search. So now they're fine-tuning. They're pulling up relevant sellers, meaning if you have a buyer who's looking for a pair of shoes and you only have one pair of shoes listed in your store, you probably are not going to get on the first page of a Cassini search. Okay, so now what that means is that that pair of shoes, if it doesn't sell like within the first 3, 4, maybe 5 days of being listed, it now is not coming up in search. And the items you're listing behind it, if they're not geared into that same customer looking for those shoes, they're just not going to be attracted to it. So it just makes it really, really hard, okay? So here's my first big sourcing tip. You can still go to the thrift shops and the yard sales and the auctions, but I want you to start thinking about putting some blinders on when you are cruising through the thrift stores and start thinking about who it is you want to sell items to. And now here's a little different take on niche than how most people talk about it. So usually you hear niche and you think, oh my gosh, that's like a 1 or 2 product line, and it's, it's very, very narrow, and boom, there you are. Let's, use Coca-Cola as an example. Coca-Cola sells Coke products, drinks, soft drinks, and drinks. They're just selling drinks. So my idea of niche is not so much what you're selling as to who you're selling it to. So if you just absolutely love your antiques and collectibles, then find a way to niche to a certain type of customer. Who's that customer? And I mean, I can give you examples. There's, are they a decorator? Are they, okay, I'll tell you who mine is because I sell antiques and collectibles. My ideal customer is a wealthy 1%er who just wants to buy something because they ran across it and it was fun and it drew their attention and they think it would look really cool in their house. And they sort by highest first because they don't want a piece of junk. They want to be able to brag that they spent $200, $300, $400, $500 on that, whatever it is that's now sitting up on their shelf. That's my ideal customer. that's the things I look for, and that's been really successful. Now, will that work for all of you? No. So that's why I say you've got to come up with your own niche customer. A lot of you sell used clothing, and so figure out who is that clothing buyer, because, oh my goodness, there's a whole bunch of different clothing buyers out there. The 22-year-old is doing a different shopping style than the 52-year-old, right? So you really want to figure out who that customer is. So now if you're just can fine-tune that niche and think about that as you're going out and doing your sourcing, now you are very, very focused, and you can go through the thrift store or go look at the auction preview and see what really fits that customer, and just spend your time working on those things, okay? And just always remember, you guys, emotional impulse buying is where people really spend money. And we're getting ready, we're going to talk in a minute to Robert, who's going to tell you about the other end of the spectrum on buyers, which is those commodity buyers. But impulse and emotional buyers, they will spend money like no tomorrow. So whatever that niche is for you, whether it is clothing or jewelry or collectibles or household goods, shoes, no matter what it is, start looking for the higher end items in your niche, because it takes just as long to list and sell a $10 item as it does a $1,000 item. Okay? Just think about how many $10 items it takes to sell the same as $1,000 item. Just kind of do that math, because that's some easy math right there. Also, know your ASP. ASP is your average selling price. And if you focus on your average selling price increasing, your overall profits are going to increase over time. And it's a process. It's a process. So I'm kind of looking at some of the comments coming through as I'm talking about this. You can't see the customers, so how can you figure out exactly who you're selling it to? That's the beauty of it. You know who that person is. In fact, I have my appsters create a bio of that person. Fill it out. Give them a name. Know where they normally shop retail, what they look for, where do they go out, and what do they do, what are their trends. And as you're marketing, your language, the things that you buy will fit that. They'll find you. Then you are building your niche customer base. Okay? Hard to find those high-end items. Think bigger. You've got to start putting the focus on those higher-end items. And it's really, really easy to find the lower-end items. And that's why even finding one or two of the higher-end items when you go out will more than pay for the trip versus a cart full of the lower end items, okay? I know it's hard to pass up stuff. I know it's hard to pass up stuff. I got it. I got it. We'll come back to this, but what I really want to do now is bring Robert on and touch on the consumable customer. And Robert didn't really know what I was going to have him talk about, so we'll get him unmuted again.
I am here. Hello, everybody.
Yay! Can you all hear him?
How are you today? How are you today, Danny?
I am good. The sun is shining.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm honored to be on your program, so thank you so much. It means a lot.
So Robert, for those who don't know you, can you just share a little bit of your story, and then we'll go into kind of how you source?
Sure. We had a few medical things going on in our family, and although I made a high income working in corporate America, and prior to my career in corporate America, I was an entrepreneur. So I guess once you're an entrepreneur, you're always an entrepreneur. But it was the medical bills piling up that really started me part-time selling on Amazon. Started out with books in November of 2013, did about $98 in sales that month, and 10 months later, I was doing about 23, just under 24,000 a month part-time while I was working my corporate job. It was a very demanding corporate job, and I was not happy with that job. And I thought with 23,000 in sales, and if I asked and pleaded for a severance, that maybe I would give this thing a try full time. And like you said, crazy as it sounds, I took the plunge. And fast forwarding to our first Q4, which we're just kind of reeling off of, we grossed about 80,000 in sales in December of 2014. So now we're at post Q4 numbers on Amazon around the 40 to 45,000 a month range, and we really need to ramp that back up to that 80 range as fast as possible. So that's kind of my quick snippet of story there for you.
Awesome.
Yep.
So now you can't see the picture that I pulled up off of Facebook and am sharing with everyone, or maybe you can. It's the one of the back of your car. I believe it's filled with Bounty paper towels.
That's a great one. Yeah, okay. I'm glad you chose that one.
So you tend to source things that most people think, oh, there's no money in that. I can't, do that. Mm-hmm. And you sell a lot of consumables. So that's what I was hoping you would come on and kind of share.
Sure.
Kind of how that works. I don't want you to give away any of your, your secrets, but whatever you're comfortable sharing, and it's, the possibilities is what I really want people to see, is to just really expand out of the day-to-day what they're seeing on Facebook stuff. Sure.
Yeah, I'm all about growing the business with a foundation of replenishables, and like you said, consumables are a great way to do that. Right? I mean, people have to use paper towels. I mean, I have a household of 5 people here, and I guess I got to say we go through a roll of paper towel every hour. It feels like I'm exaggerating, but you know what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
You're with me, right? Maybe you're one of my customers, so thank you again. But think about it, folks. People, especially in urban settings, right? If you live in the 42nd floor of a high-rise in Chicago or New York on a February day when it's 15 below, the last thing you want to do is get a 4-pack of Kleenex, an 8-pack of Bounty, and some napkins to boot, right? So what are you going to do, right? Well, you're going to go to Amazon because you love Amazon and you buy something from Amazon almost every day, and this is the demographic of a typical urbanite, right? Mm-hmm. And so I look at where my sales are going, especially with paper towels, and I still have paper towels on my storefront today as we speak, and toilet paper. And so, people just want it delivered to their door, and they don't want to mess with it. And so, I think you can find niches like you were talking about, Danny, even in this sort of commodity consumable market as well. And I've carved out quite a few niches now that I've been at this, about a year and a half. So what do you think?
Yeah, so I'm watching some of the questions coming in for you. So they want to know if you use coupons.
I started to use coupons, and I stopped. A, it was time consuming, and B, I was violating half of the statutes on every one of those. Some of them said not for resale. Some of them said don't buy this. And I wanted a clear conscience with my business, and that's just me, right? I wouldn't say that's for everybody, but I just felt like I'm violating this contract. Each coupon is a contract.
Yes.
And I just felt bad about it, so I stopped. And so I don't know. Maybe I should start again, but I don't think that I will. Unless it's the Sunday paper and I just happen to clip a couple here and there. But I'm not an extreme couponer to answer that question.
And I'm actually really happy to hear that, because I'm with you. I back before this whole online thing, couponing has been around a long time, and I was one of those. I'd get like 50 copies of the papers and the inserts, and I'd have my little folder, and it's like, it's time consuming.
Mhm.
So I can only imagine it's the same thing and juggling and having to worry, oh, got to go to this store for this and this store for this. And so
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm not a big coupon fan.
Let me also say, I love what you're talking about with niching, Danny. And by the way, everybody, if you ever get a chance to do a day with Danny, I don't know if you have that picture of us at the back, but I traveled with Danny, and I didn't know much about eBay, and I'm still learning a ton. But I learned so much from Danny on that day, and in fact, I'm listing a few things even from that day. Believe it or not, I still have some things I haven't listed. Shame on me, right? You just like you were saying before, it kind of sits in the closet or on the couch or on the spare bed. But I did list a lot of the stuff I got with Danny on that day and made some good money on it. But I would say you can find a niche on Amazon too, right? Just like, and so I was just looking at my numbers, pulling up my report right now for the month of March, and some cool things are happening. And one of the things Danny talked about was niching clothing. Well, clothing is now almost 40% of my Amazon business. So some of the things I even learned from Danny about clothing and people like Steve Rakin and some of the YouTube videos out there, I've been able to incorporate in my brand new, you have to sell new clothing on Amazon. But 40% is, that is staggering. And
Wow.
so I'm keep going with that, and I'm going to keep growing it. And then my second biggest, just so everybody knows, is grocery. I have put a full court press on grocery, and so that's 30% of my business
Grocery's
currently. So
huge because those are the items people come back for over and over and over
yeah,
again.
yeah,
Uh,
it's fun.
I'm
And
excited
shoes,
about
I'm starting to
grocery.
build some shoes. I have now been selling 1 or 2 pairs of shoes a day. Now it's just like eBay. You got to go out and find them and be, intentional about shoes. But I listened to some of those Spreecasts with Barrington and all his friends that are knocking it out of the park with shoes on Amazon. And of
Hmm.
course, there's a lot of people that knock it out of the park with shoes on eBay too. But I'm talking about new shoes, brand new shoes, because you got to sell new. But boy, the profit margin and the ROI on shoes, incredible on Amazon. So a lot of opportunities out there.
Yeah. So Robert, do you do any like wholesaling through liquidation, distributors, and that sort of thing?
A little bit with the sort of paper goods that I mentioned before. I've
Hmm.
done not a lot. I am just with I have to replace the. You talked about paying yourself, right? So I will answer your question, but it's about paying yourself. So in order to replace that big income, I really have to watch my cash flow. And so currently, I don't have the cash flow to be able to make big buys. Now I know people go, well, for $500 you can make a wholesale buy. Well, right now there's just so much low-hanging fruit with retail arbitrage. And I'm a field guy, right? I come from field sales,
Hmm.
and you travel with me. I'm in
Yep.
the field. I like being in the field. But no, I think I need to get me to the next level. I'm going to have to get into wholesale. Everybody keeps asking me, when are you going to do it? I'm not there yet. Strictly retail arbitrage right now with just a smidge of online arbitrage, and that's just my replens that I get from maybe Walmart or Target. So
See, and that's exactly why I wanted to bring you on because you represent the success that I don't see a name on here that couldn't do what you're doing.
right,
You
that's
guys,
right.
this is all possible. That's why I told them, have an open mind and be open to the possibilities. Like anybody can do this. These opportunities are there, which is what I just love about this business.
Well, sure. It's hard work. I wouldn't say that it's
Oh, of
easy.
course.
you know, and I do have to go and I have to look at my reports now. One of the things, and this here's a tip for anybody that wants to grow their Amazon business. For me, now I'm just telling you my experience. You may want to test it, but from my experience, is I've been increasing my SKUs in those categories.
Mm-hmm.
My sales have been increasing as well. Because hey, maybe one day someone isn't going hot on paper towels. Oh, that's okay because I've got my cereal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so so one of the things I'm testing is building my SKUs, kind of going wider, not so deep, right? Now there are a few things I will go deep on. I'm not going to ignore that where it makes sense. And you've seen some of my pictures in some of the wholesale stores where I've gone deep, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've sent those haul pictures to Danny, So, but no, look at I think that, I went from 250 SKUs to about almost 400 now, and I'll tell you what a lift that is bringing on my sales every day.
Mm-hmm.
So try it.
And there's a couple questions about what's an SKU. So really, an SKU is that's the number assigned to a particular product, so that you can have one of them or you can have 100 of them. It's the same SKU or SKU or however you want to say that. So
now I may have on one SKU I may have 20 as a quantity.
Right.
But yeah, good question. Sorry, I sometimes I take for granted all the lingo here that I've learned.
That's what this good old question box is for.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so let's see. So, of course, Beth says she wants all your secrets, names of stores, quantities bought, etc. LOL.
Well, actually, I'm glad she said that because you are who said that? I want to know who that is.
That was Beth.
Like,
I'm going to call her out.
Beth. All right, Beth. Beth, I am working on the RB. People call me RB3 because I'm Robert Bagley III, and my old boss dubbed me RB3 because there's a famous, football player. You can fill in the blank. But I was RB3 before RG3 was RG3. Just want for the record, okay? But Beth, great point. I am actually working on RB3 sourcing guide. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to release this yet, but it actually came to me in the shower this morning. I know it's probably too much information, but sometimes when you just get away from the business and you're relaxing, some of that revelation comes to you. When you separate yourself. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, I think because I guess I was thinking about today's talk with your people, and it is. There's a lot of information I've learned, and not that I've arrived. But I would love to share that. So I'm going to work on a RB3 sourcing guide, and we'll somehow make that available in the future, Danny, okay?
Sweet. Sweet. And you know what? All of these people who registered for this, I'm sure we can do something special for them.
That'd be cool.
Yep. So let's see. Some of the other questions. So there's some numbers questions. So let's see.
Yeah.
So So they're saying, so if you're doing like 40K a month in sales, what does that equate to on average for your net?
Yeah, good question. We always get that question, don't we, Dan?
Yes, we do.
And it is a great question. And everybody's overhead varies, right? I would say on a $45,000 month, typically our profit on the cost of goods sold is running right about that $15,000 mark. Mm-hmm. And then after that, then I have to take out my salary and overhead.
Right.
So I hope that helps answer, And again, I may hit on some more profitable items, and it might be higher. I may be just pumping volume with low margin, and it might be a bit lower. But that's typically what I've found with our numbers. And we're working on bringing an inventory lab so we can watch that a little closer.
Yeah, I just got Inventory Lab. I'm excited about getting started with that and using that and watching those numbers myself. So
yes, yeah.
So
because when you start to get all these items or SKUs, then you don't. It's hard to even know. Okay, what do I go get for replens, and what are my profitable replens?
Right. And this is where I know there's probably some of those little negative thoughts are coming in for some people listening to this, going, okay, yeah, I'm never going to get there, or I can't do that. It's too much math. Okay, so this is just one of your little friendly reminders that keep your mind open to the possibility, because I can tell you, if I can figure this stuff out, you guys can figure this stuff out. Really, I am the worst person at numbers, and
me too.
Yeah, but there's so much great information out there. Just take steps. Just take steps. I know someone in here was, they only have $50 in spending money and just getting started. So how do you get started with such a low amount to invest? Maybe you can answer that one.
Oh, absolutely. what I would do is, and this is exactly what I did, so I can tell you from experience that this model works. Again, for me, you will have to test this for yourself. But I would take all the books, CDs, DVDs, you can sell them used, by the way, on Amazon, in your house, and do some garage sales. I mean, Danny can do damage with $50 at a garage sale. I've seen her go. But I wouldn't even go there. I wouldn't even spend that $50 yet till I sent in a nice box of books from my house, right? Get the scanning app. I think you have to be a professional seller. I don't even know. But there's an Amazon seller app, and it'll tell you, what that book will sell for. And I'll bet you with a small box of books and CDs or DVDs, make sure they're not scratched, make sure you clean them good, you probably could get another $100, right? Like I said, my first month, $98 in books. So if you have 50 and you sell 100 of stuff from your house, you got 150. And then I would take that one notch up and maybe do some book sales, go to some library sales. I would start with books, and the reason I like books is because they're easy to list, but it also gives you the full panoramic of how to send a shipment into Amazon, so that if you do step in, or I should say when you step into retail arbitrage, you'll know how to do a shipment, you'll know how to list it, you'll know how to pack it, you'll know how to send it. So I was really geared up and ready to do retail arb because I had done books. And I just took all the proceeds I had made from the book and plowed them into retail arbitrage inventory, which, like Danny said, my first buy retail arbitrage was paper towels.
Paper towels, yeah.
Yeah, it's staple.
Yeah, and I have to tell you guys, Robert saved me the other day because my twinkle in my eye went all kazowie. I was in, what was it? I was Target.
Target.
And they had toilet paper bonus rolls on sale for this great, I mean, there was like 3 pallets of them. And I was ready. I was just ready to do it. And and I happened to like pull it up and go, oh, wait, RB3 has these. Are these really selling? So you saved me on that one.
Yeah, they weren't selling. I had to drop my price, and I think I took a little loss on those. But don't be afraid to test it. Put the toe in the deep end. It might be cold. You might lose a little here. You might lose a little there. That's all part of the learning process. We all start somewhere. Don't despise the days of small beginnings. Give it a try. That's how you learn. And you'll hit on some cool stuff. And what you do is you repeat the things that work, and you stop doing the things that don't.
Right. Which was going to be my point is, I might have gone ahead and bought those, even if I hadn't been able to like kind of go over it with you. And the thing is, I wouldn't have lost money on them. I mean, they were still priced at such a point that even at a yard sale, I'd have got my money back, which is what I wanted to ask you. You didn't lose money on those, did you?
No, you probably not. I can't remember exactly what the item was, but I rarely, to your point, lose money on paper goods.
Yeah.
I do my research on the front end, like you said. It's the sourcing is when you make your money.
Exactly.
So, but I hate to sit on anything. I am so impatient. I am a flipper. I am a turner. I am anti long tail.
Yep.
Which, you may want to explain that for some of those people that don't know. But I do not like to sit on inventory. I loathe it. I can't. I have to earn a living for my family. I'm the sole income provider, and I cannot sit on inventory. So to me, that's a loss if I sit on inventory, even though I eventually sell it for a profit. It's a loss to me because I got to turn that stuff.
Right. And really, any retail business, and yes, you guys are retail businesses, even though it's online, it is still a retail business. That is the name of the game, because every bit of inventory you're sitting on, whether it's listed or unlisted, is inventory that's not making you money and actually costing you, because it's an asset of your business if it's not sold. And we won't get into the whole tax discussion, but in business thinking, that stuff needs to go. Now my rule of thumb with antiques and collectibles is about a year. After 6 months is when it starts getting a little more aggressively either marked down, sent to auction, something, but at the end of a year, it's out of here. It either goes to a live auction house, it goes to my yard sale, but it is out the door. It doesn't hang around. It's just, it didn't work. It's gone. And I don't get emotional about it. And I think that's a tough thing for especially a lot of eBay sellers is like, it's like a failure. It's like, oh, I bought this. And to admit that it's not going to sell hurts. Uh, and,
Sure.
and we got to just think of it. It's just business. There is just stuff that's not going to ever sell, just the way it is. Or it's going to sell at such a low price that it is not worth your time. We're going to talk about that too.
That's right.
So a couple more quick questions. So I already know
Sure.
the answer to this one, but was asked, do you do FBA, which is fulfillment by Amazon, or do you do merchant fulfilled?
I do FBA. Great question. And simply put, the reason I do FBA is leverage and scalability.
Mm-hmm.
I can send, there's probably pictures of all the boxes I send because I take a lot of pictures before I put them into my truck and bring them to UPS. But we're on average, we're sending out, I would say 12 to 20 boxes at least 5 to 6 days a week.
Nice.
And and again, realize, folks, all that's going to an Amazon warehouse, and then every single order is getting fulfilled by them. That allows me the time to source, to talk to fine folks like you today, right? Because if I had to sit there and fulfill, this month I've sold 560 units. Think about how much time that would take me.
You'd have to have your own warehouse.
Yeah, and
With
I
all
don't.
that overhead.
Yeah, right. I have enough overhead with the house I live in, so we utilize the basement for our distribution center, and nothing sits here. It comes. I source it, we list it, we pack it, we ship it within 24 to 48 hours. Stuff is on its way to Amazon. In fact, the stuff I was out sourcing till midnight last night, and all that's gone already. I have
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so that comes to one of the other questions is, how much help do you have?
Yep, I currently have one part-time helper. It's nice because it's my wife's nephew, and he happens to be living with us. So he has to just travel from one end of the house to the other. That's his commute time. He's leaving for a little vacation, so I'm going to desperately miss him, but he really did step up and get everything out for me now. But he's putting in, I would say, between 15 and 20 hours a week. So I can source for about 6 to 8 hours, and he'll have that thing packed up and ready for me to put in my truck within 2 hours.
Wow. That's awesome.
He's gotten real efficient. It's very easy to train someone how to do it. And so it's very rare that I'm stickering or even listing or anything anymore. I'm just focusing on looking at my reports, looking at what's selling, and going and getting more.
Yep, that is great. So here's a good question. What is your ASP?
Oh, I love when people ask that. I am hovering between, right now I just pulled up a report because I had a feeling you guys were sharp and you were going to ask me some really good numbers questions. So I have my business report staring me in the face. Amazon does a great job. They've got some excellent dashboard reports, just quick clicks, and you've got all that data at your fingertips. So my report is from March 1st to today, so 11 days. I'm averaging at $29.40 for my average net selling price,
Right.
which is about normal for me.
Yeah, and I was going to say on Amazon, that's really good, because, again, Amazon is like, it's selling quicker, it's a lot of consumables and fly it off the shelf. It's a different model than the eBay model. So just want to be clear, when I'm talking my big high numbers, I'm on eBay because it's got to be worthwhile to do all that work. Whereas with Amazon, you got to figure you're not paying for storage. I mean, you're paying for storage, but you're not paying for your own warehouse and managing all that inventory and customer service for that inventory. It's all being done. It's at your fingertips. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is.
So, and we could talk to Robert all day long, you guys. I know the questions are kind of like pouring in. So, you're over on the Facebook group, right?
I am.
We'll make sure, yeah. So we'll maybe start a thread if there was some questions you didn't get answered from Robert, and he has a YouTube channel with wonderful videos. He's got an audio, I guess you call it an audio ebook out there
Yeah.
that details his journey and all this. That is, it's a great story, and it is just so motivational. Sometimes I think lazy thoughts in the day, and then I think, I really need to get off my butt and do something. I have no excuse for being broke. Okay? Nobody has an excuse for being broke because the opportunity's out there. You just got to start. You got to start someplace. And you may not, be at the level you want to be within a week or two, but if you start doing those steps now and start, and you've got the foundation to start right with all the information from people who've done it before you, it's like just start taking those steps, like with that $50, like what you said.
Yeah.
Find the stuff and just build it, build it, build it, build it, build it. All
Good.
right.
Thank you again, Danny, for having me on. It was a pleasure. I love meeting all of you, and thank you for your great questions, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert.
Bye-bye.
All right. They're all saying thank you, too. Robert was here by phone. He wasn't online. So you guys, I wanted to bring him on because he has such an incredible story, and he took such a big risk, and he was motivated. And a lot of it, I'm going to tell you, this comes down to how bad do you want it? How much do you need it? I mean, he had no choice. He had to succeed. And a lot of us, myself included, kind of have some fallbacks, maybe have a spouse, so not as motivated, we think, I can do that tomorrow. So it's just about, how bad do you need to get to where you need to be? And I want you to know that possibilities are just crazy cool out there. So let's talk about Amazon sourcing versus eBay sourcing. Amazon, we think of retail arbitrage, which is where you go to retail stores like Target and Walmart and Kohl's or Big Lots or wherever those places are, and you buy something there, usually that's on clearance or on sale, not always, and you turn around and send that in to Amazon at a marked up price. You can do the same thing that's called online arbitrage, where you can go to online stores. There's online Walmart and online Target and online Toys R Us and DisneyStore.com and all of those. When you source from those, that's called online arbitrage. There are liquidation services. There are companies that their entire job is to take that stuff from the retail stores that didn't sell in the time that they wanted it to, and now they liquidate them. There's auction services, and there's just big companies. If anybody was at ASD, which is the big trade show here in Vegas, there's a whole section of these liquidation services where they just want to get rid of this stuff. And trade shows, as I just mentioned, you get wholesalers there. They have no desire to sell the stuff themselves. They're looking for people like you to sell the stuff for them, and actual manufacturers of products. Heck, you can even create your own products and private label them and maybe end up on Shark Tank. Who knows? But, I mean, the possibilities are endless, and Amazon is just a giant distribution place for those items. It is doing all the marketing work to attract those customers. Now, the thing that I'm not real wild about Amazon, those of you who know me know this, is that you don't get to be your brand. You're just distributing stuff through Amazon, and it's a great business model, but I want you to think bigger than that and not have all your eggs in that basket either, because that can be dangerous. A great question, Wendy. Why would a customer shop on Amazon versus Walmart online or Toys R Us online? Because most shoppers online, I'm going to tell you guys this, they're not arbitrageurs, number one. They're not resellers, and they are lazy. They're going to go to the place that they know they can go, and Amazon has made it so super easy with their one-click, bam, it's at your door in 2 days. Literally one click. And that is why people just do that. it's just the go-to place. You know what? I know I could go find my dog food cheaper someplace else. Guess what? I know I go over to Amazon. They save that info that I order that often. I go there, click, boom, one click, my dog food's there in 2 days. I pay more for it. I don't care. Amazon has really keyed on the loyal customer. People will go there over and over and over and over again. It's crazy, crazy. So Linda asks, do I need a certain license to do these kinds of purchases in order to resell them? Retail arbitrage? No. Online arbitrage? No. Now, it does really, really help for you to go get your reseller certificate so you don't have to pay sales tax. Most of the retail stores will honor that. Some won't. Some get weird about it. But for the most part, they will accept that and not charge you sales tax. So that is a big reason to get your resale license. There's like places like antique malls and things even. If you have that resale license, you don't have to pay tax. So it's a good thing to have. Sorry, I had to hit that cough button. Can you guys hear me still? Oh, good. Okay. Don't want to cough in your ear. Okay, so those are all the main ways to source for Amazon. So eBay sourcing is more known for the thrift stores and the yard sales and the auction, but all of those I just told you about, those also hold true for eBay. So any of the sourcing methods can be used for either site. I'm so glad I have a cough button, you guys. Okay. The other thing is that when you're thinking, and I'm going to kind of go back to that niche idea a little bit too, when you're sourcing, think about your own site, your very own e-commerce site, where you don't have to pay anybody a piece of that pie but yourself. I mean, that's the big picture I'm talking about. That's where I really want to push people to build to, because ultimately that's what you have control over. And if you find niche products, it's a great way to sell those products and do a little marketing. Facebook and social media has made it so easy. It's great to get the word out, where it didn't used to be. Used to be you had to spend thousands and thousands of marketing dollars to do that, but not so much anymore. Not so much. So let's discuss margins a little bit, because I know this is one of the tricky areas when you're sourcing and deciding what to buy and is it a good product. So this gets into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of sourcing. So let's first talk about Amazon margins versus eBay margins versus your own site margins, okay? So you need to consider things like fees, labor, meaning whoever's helping you, and if it's not somebody else helping you, then it's you helping you, and then of course taxes. So there is a really well-known rule out there called the 3 times rule. And I like this, especially for those getting into this for the first time, for the beginners. The 3-time rule is a very safe way to go. So let's look at an average selling price. So let's say I'm working towards a $100 average selling price. And that's really what I'm doing on eBay. It doesn't mean that every single thing I buy is going to sell for that, but if I'm always making that the target, I'm way more likely to reach it than not, okay? So we'll talk about it in a second. So let's take the thrifting model, okay? Just work with me here. I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, but see how these feel for you. So thrifting, you can find a lot of stuff to sell. So let's say you have $100 to go out and spend, and you find 10 items for $10 each, and you can flip those for an average of $30 each. So that's going to be $300 in sales, okay? Or you can find 4 items that are, say, $25 that you can flip for $200 each. So that's $800. And now I'm giving you general numbers, but this is the concept that has made me a lot of money, okay? So it's the same time investment, right? Or is it? Let's look at that. So my little mantra, appsters know it well, time is money. Time is money, time is money. And goes back to that question I asked you before. How much are you paying yourself? Okay? So let's look at the example I just gave you. So you spend $100 buying 10 $10 items, and you can flip them and sell them for $300. Or the 4 $25 items for $200 for $800. Okay? So let's just say it takes you 15 minutes per item to get them processed, photoed, and listed. And I'm generally speaking eBay now, because with Amazon, there's a little less processing time. If the listing exists, you don't have to take photos. You just have to maybe bag it or maybe put a label on it and put it in a box and get it shipped. So let's take 10 of those first 10 items times 15 minutes equals, what is that? 150 minutes or 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours, okay? Or the 4 items will take you 60 minutes, 1 hour, okay? Do you see something already? So you already give yourself a raise when you look for those higher margin items. So the items cost more. You know, $25 was a bigger investment, but the margin is bigger. So always be considering the margin more than the cost of the item is where I'm trying to get you to. And generally at thrift stores, you can find $25 is a high pricing range for them. And I have found multiple items at thrift stores that I buy in the $10 to $25 price range that flip for $100 plus. Some examples. So Susan, clothing is a really easy place. If you sell clothing, that's like boom. There's so many good brands of clothing that will sell for over $100. Yep. And so let's see. In my genre, there's gosh, you know, I've found, I'm trying to think, there's been so many, some artwork, some really nice cookware, sometimes new in the package items. I'm trying to think of one of my most recent. I'm trying to think of the name of the artist. It's, they were plates and they had animals on them and they sold for like $425. Lamps, shoes, you know, and this is going to make more sense to you over the next 2 days when we're talking about the research and the pricing, because if you're questioning whether you can list things for $100 to $200 that you're finding at the thrift store, that's probably where we're going to have a bigger impact, because I would wager to guess you've got some things underpriced. If you're spending $25 at the thrift store, it's a better item, and I bet it's worth a lot more than you're listing it for, okay? So again, I'm asking you guys for that open mind because I'm hearing the rebuttals come in, and I'm going to prove to you this is possible and show you how, okay? I have a business model. I have several coaching clients that are doing it. So it isn't just me. It isn't just one case. It is lots of people are doing this model on eBay. And it is really it's a mindset thing where that worry that if I invest 25, oh my gosh, what if I don't make my money back? And then I've got all this money invested, okay? So what focusing will do for you is this. It's not going to make every item that you buy sell, but it's going to make that potential for every item to sell higher. So a good example, racehorses. Why do racehorses wear blinders, guys? And you guys, I used to raise racehorses, so I had to use a horse example here. They wear blinders to stay focused, to help them tune out things around them. Because what happens is if they don't have those blinders on, and it's not every racehorse, some are able to do it, but there are just some horses that if they see all this going on, they see a horse coming up next to them, oh, there was a flag up there, they slow down and they don't stay on track for that finish line and they don't win the race. So they're put on there to win the race. Another example is workhorses. Workhorses also wear blinders. So what happens if they take the blinders off of those workhorses? The work doesn't get done because they're getting goosey or they're plowing the row wrong, or I got to tell you, I used to work at Disneyland. I worked in the costume department, and there was an incident. People would come up to the window to check out their costume for the day, and I heard these two parade attendants talking about this new plan for the new parade where they were taking some of the streetcar horses, you know, the big Belgians that wear the harness and the big blinders so they can just go down Main Street. They were just going to take off those blinders because they didn't quite fit the feel they were looking for. And they were putting Mickey and Minnie on these horses' back. And I told them flat out, I said, oh, bad idea, guys. Bad idea. And of course, you guessed it, what happened? The very first parade, a child with a balloon ran out. The horse got sight of something it had never seen before and got goosey, and a Mickey Mouse fell off, and Mickey's head went rolling down Main Street in the front of all of these mortified children. Now, this is true story, you guys. Captain Hook happened to be on the float behind this and ran up and handed Mickey his head back. It was a bad thing, but the point of the story is that distractions keep us from reaching our goals and getting where we want to be. So put your virtual blinders on. As you develop a niche, if you're really just focused on your niche, even if you can't bring yourself to only look for those higher priced items, at least start getting niched, because when you start getting niched, you get to ask more for those items. So it kind of works that way too. There is, you know what, I don't know, this was 20 years ago, you guys, so there was no YouTube, and I don't know if any of the tourists got that video, but oh my goodness, it was really sad. So again, there's the sourcing types. So retail arbitrage, and we talked a bit about this already, is when you go to a retail store and you find items there that you can turn around and flip. And again, why people would want to do this is, like Robert said, people are in rural areas, they may not have the store, or the store no longer is carrying that thing in stock, because stores, you guys, they flip stuff and move the merchandise and keep it fresh constantly. Just imagine if you were to walk into Target and you saw the same stuff every single time, I mean, except for the stuff you knew you were in there, you know, the everyday common items. But what is it that really gets you to spend money you hadn't intended to spend? Think about this for a minute. You walk into Target to go buy some paper towels, and they walk you past the end caps, which are those racks on the end. Oh, yeah, it's all the new exciting stuff that you didn't see the last time you were in there. Yes, it's fresh, it's different. And believe it or not, whether you're aware of it, your brain's aware of it. And so retail stores move this stuff very quickly. Real estate space is really valuable, and there is always new products coming out that they need to test and try, and see what's going to become one of their, stay on the shelf forever kind of products, because they have those too. So it's a mix. Then you've got the online arbitrage we talked about. Tons of places to do online arbitrage, and that is basically finding. I will tell you one of my big places I love to arbitrage is, I know Heather's probably going to kill me that I'm giving this out. It's the Disney store. The Disney store. But you got to be careful. You do have to be careful and kind of know what you're looking at and know what the prices are that you're going to realize. And sometimes you will sit on that for a while. But I'm a Disney freak, so. Gosh, I mean, I could get every store you can imagine online, you can arbitrage from there. You really can. So really look at that if you don't have time or you don't have the stores. And I'm telling you, this is not available to just people who live in big city. If you don't have the retail stores, you have the online stores. So online arbitrage, alive and well. Wholesale, trade shows, just came from one. Amazing opportunity. Everything you can possibly imagine, eBay, Amazon, your own site, whatever you want to do, these trade shows, if you can get to one, and we have ASD coming up in Las Vegas in August. Any of you guys who want some help with that, shoot me a message, an email. I would love to put together a group to go to ASD because the possibilities there are just endless. It is awesome. So really, you guys, the sourcing, just remember the rules when you're going in, no matter where it is that you're sourcing from. It's all about the margins. So let's discuss those just a little bit more. So we talked about eBay and sourcing for there. Let's talk about Amazon a little bit, because Amazon has a lot of little broken out fees. eBay, you have your store fee and or a listing fee and then a final value fee, okay, and a PayPal fee. Amazon, the variables are just crazy. So that's why you have to be really careful with your margins. Also on Amazon, there's people that are going to come in on the same listing and they are going to undercut your price, because there are always people willing to make less money, always. But do not play the race to the bottom game. Stay tried and true to your price, okay? So let's just take, for example, if you list something in Home and Garden, say you bought it for $5 and it is selling for $15, don't think that you have a $10 profit margin there, okay? What in fact you do have, first you pay a 15% referral fee. And if you are not a professional seller and paying the $40 a month, then you're paying another dollar for that item, okay? If it sits there longer than a month, you're going to start paying storage on it. And so now you're down to about $7.75 or so, okay? Also figure in how much time did you spend to process and send it in. Take that off of there. So always think about that when you're looking, pricing. That buy it for $5, sell it for $15 might not be so great, right? But if you can find a product that's, say, selling for $100, and I'm just going to use round numbers here, guys. I know that these are not as easy to find, but you can find them. But think of the generals I'm telling you about margin and just keep these in your mind when you are sourcing. So you find a product that's selling for $100 and you can buy it for $50, here's what happens. So now that $100 times 15% is $15 is going to be your referral fee to Amazon. So that comes down to now to what? $35 profit? Same time to process it. So even though it's not 3 times, how much better is that item paying? $35 for that one item versus about $7 for the other item, okay? So always think about that. Don't just get stuck on the 3 times. Think about the final margin that you're going to get. And there's a lot of apps out there that are going to help you kind of determine. You can put in, the cost of what you'd be buying it for, and it already knows those formulas for the referral fee for Amazon. Now, what it doesn't know is how long it's going to sit there and how much storage you're going to pay. So always think it's going to take a couple months to sell. That'll keep you pretty safe too. The larger the item, the more storage you're going to pay. So an area where I'm okay with getting less margin on is if you can buy multiples. And so if you can send in, say, 5 or even 10 of the same item, now that's selling over and over and over again. And usually with Amazon, if it's a good item, you get what they call the buy box, where when a customer searches for that item, they pull up the one catalog page that has that item. When they click buy it with that one-click easy buy thing that Amazon has, they're buying yours. And they'll buy yours until you no longer have the buy box, which will either be somebody else comes in and substantially undercut your price, or you run out. One or the other. Okay, so I've had things where they didn't sell, and then bam, all of a sudden I sold all 10 of them, boom, in one day. And that's a wonderful thing. So that really increases your margins on that item or that SKU, as we were talking about before. Okay. So is that making sense for you guys about margins and how to really keep your eye on those margins versus just the price of the item or just what it's selling for? Awesome. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah. So it's really, you need to know your basic numbers, but don't worry if you don't know everything down to the penny. Working on high margins has kept me very safe over the years because there's always wiggle room for my mistakes with the math. That's what I like to call it. And then my bookkeeper can tell me either, sometimes I err on the wrong side, so it's all good. So definitely anything that you can sell via Fulfillment by Amazon, also known as FBA, I highly recommend that because your prime customer, your high dollar spender, the one that's going to go in there and push that button, click, and buy it, they're doing the prime for the most part. Unless you got like a big bulky item or something that you're the only one selling it, then it's okay to do merchant fulfilled. So there's lots of information, and I was trying to give you some basics, some things you could go out and use immediately without overwhelming you. So I hope I've done that. And I really want to encourage you to find something you're passionate about, especially on eBay. Amazon has a little more leeway because it's more about the numbers and about, what's selling and what can you sell a whole bunch of for a whole lot of money fast. But on eBay, it's more specifically back to something you're going to have to market and you're going to have to deal with and you're going to have to write it up and do all that. So it makes it a whole lot more fun if it's something that you're passionate about, perhaps something that you're really knowledgeable. Boy, I cannot say that word. Smart about, which goes to your talent piece and market demand. You got to have market demand in there too. So when all three of these come together, you can see that success is in the middle. So that's what I really want to encourage you to kind of look at. Don't follow the crowd. Honestly, when I see what's known as a BOLO listed out on Facebook on one of the groups, one of the big groups that has like thousands of people, think about this. A BOLO means be on the lookout for. That means they just told a whole bunch of people, go buy this and sell it. I stay away from those. I really do. Now, do I look for stuff that's similar? Do I look for stuff that kind of, oh, well, that did good. I bet this would do good too? Sure, I do. But for the most part, I stay away from BOLOs, and I really look for stuff that nobody else is thinking about. Be your own boss and your own CEO and take risks. Jump into some things that when others think you're crazy. Really, you will have some huge successes doing that. And you're not doing it alone. There's a lot of support out on Facebook. Again, I've mentioned my Facebook group a few times. It is free, the Danny App Facebook group. We answer lots of questions. We do promotional stuff of your listings. We problem solve why stuff isn't selling. So that's one of the things we do there. And we talk about those niches. And so with that, I'm going to bring it back to questions that may have been missed. So the floor is now yours. I know we've talked numbers and we've talked methods, and now I want to see what some of your particular questions are. Let me see if I can go back and find some of the ones that were asked in the beginning. What do I tell myself in order to stay motivated as far as sourcing products? Have over 400 items up and sometimes just say they can just buy those. Oh, Teresa, are you still here? Totally, 100%, I get in that mode. I do. So really for me, it is that thrill of the hunt. And because I'm so busy with so much other stuff, it all really comes back to looking for those treasures that are going to make, when that ka-ching goes off on my phone, I want to be excited. And that happens because I know everything that I'm listing is at a good profit margin, a good price point. I'm not going to be disappointed in having to put in the work. I'm not going to resent my customer for, only spending 20 bucks. If they're spending 50, 100 bucks, I'm happy. That's worth my time. So that's what keeps me motivated. And I got to tell you guys, being focused on the sourcing is really fun. When you really kind of like are going in there on a mission instead of like, okay, what am I going to find? But think of the American pickers. When they go hit those farmhouses and those, stashes of stuff, they know what they're looking for. And when they find it, it's exciting. It is a true treasure hunt because you know exactly what kind of treasure you're looking for. Okay. Let's see. You guys like the question mark? So tomorrow, we're going to talk more about the research and the pricing part of this. We'll do some recap. Any questions that didn't get answered, we'll go back and answer those, okay? So we're just going to continue on. I have Dawn Ralston coming on tomorrow, which many of you know her for her organization and Declutter with Diva Dawn, but she also has a phenomenal eBay business, and she barely sources. So we are going to bring Dawn on tomorrow to talk about that. Can you list and sell used CDs on Amazon? Oh, absolutely. You can sell used books, used CDs, used albums, used DVDs, although DVDs you have to be a little careful of. There's some new restrictions on DVDs. Books, you guys, I'm telling you, Amazon is still the #1 place to shop for books. So if you have books in a bookcase, scan your books first. Scan your books. Use the free Amazon Seller app. The Amazon Seller app will tell you all you need. If it's got a penny bookseller on it, toss. It's not worth sending in. What I look for is if it says there are sellers, there's new or used selling for at least $15, now I go look a little deeper. Books are still great. So Christina likes to source the Goodwill outlet, has found some really good things. Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about how thrift stores work, you guys. They don't know what everything is. That's what I love about thrift stores. Now, they're getting a little savvier. They've got online sellers back there working, pricing stuff. Maybe they're pricing it high because they want to buy it with their employee discount or something. So yeah, it's getting a little brutal out there in the thrift store world, but they don't know everything about everything. And if you can find those obscure brands and obscure things that they just don't know what it is, exactly. Christina says she found a vintage Raleigh. I have no idea what that is. Transceiver for $5.99, sold on eBay for $250. Oh, transceivers, walkie-talkies. Got it. $250. There you go. They don't look up everything. They don't know everything about everything. Da, 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 da. So we don't have a chat box. I should have explained that up in the at the front. Fran, it's a question box. I see it. You guys, I see it coming in. You guys don't see that. Should you niche it up on Amazon like you're doing on eBay? Well, here's the thing. It's not necessary to niche on Amazon, but when you're sourcing, watch how much time you're spending going outside of niche. Now, I do go outside of niche on Amazon because I sell groceries and I sell clothing there. I don't sell those things on eBay. I'm very, very specific on eBay because of the extra work involved. But Amazon, look at the work involved, and if it's not a whole lot of work to send it in and it looks like it's going to sell, send it in, make some money. How do you attract your niche people? So it really has to do with how you do your categories, what you call things, the words you use, and how you do your marketing. That's what's going to attract your niche customer. Take Starbucks. Starbucks sells coffee, right? Whole lot of coffee sellers out there. What Starbucks set out to do in their niche is be a prestigious coffee. They wanted the yuppie. Gosh, do we still use that term? Or did I just show my age? They wanted the yuppie crowd. They wanted the techies. They wanted the college students also. So they set out to create that atmosphere for their customers, and look at them today. That, I mean, it's a culture. It's an absolute crazy culture. So you get a loyal following, and that's what niching does. Is I can tell you, I buy a lot of clothes and shoes on eBay. And nothing breaks my heart more than to go to a seller's store, find the most adorable pair of shoes, buy them, go over, see what else they have that I can buy, and there isn't another darn thing that appeals to me. I feel bad. And I don't end up saving them on my favorite sellers list to come back to again. They're hit and run. I've bought something. They're kind of gone to me forever. Whereas if I find a store that, oh my gosh, they have so much cool stuff and it's organized in a way I can go to exactly the stuff I love, I save them. I go back when I'm bored and impulse shopping, I go to my favorites list and I click and I see what I can buy. And I just do that. And that's what customers will do for you too. You absolutely can sell collectibles on Amazon. Boy, that's a whole nother course we're going to be doing soon, Linda. Let me just say. And again, as I said, they're open forum, you guys. We'll continue the discussion over on the Facebook group. Would love to do that. And we will come back tomorrow. We're going to recap during about the first 15 minutes. So if you come up with a question once this ends, we're absolutely going to recap. And we'll get your questions answered and get you moving forward. But most of all, I want you to think, so what if all of this is that thing where you're still kind of going, okay, that all sounds good, but now back to how I've normally done it. Okay? So come back with that tomorrow. We'll start there, and then we'll start moving into how do you ask more money for your stuff. And with that, everyone, thank you so much for attending. I know it was a long 90 minutes. And with that, go be profitable and make it fun. We'll see you tomorrow.